Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I'm your host, and today we are shifting gears significantly.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, we're definitely moving into some heavy but really fascinating territory today.
Right, because we've spent the last few weeks mapping the chaos of AI futures, how systems drift and, accelerate way beyond our control.
Exactly. And now we transition to Jafar Humayun's successor framework, which is called Designing Futures.
Which is not a forecast, right? That's the big hook phrase. It stops asking what happens next and asks, given the world we actually have, what futures remain structurally viable?
Yeah, that concept of the viable remainder is central here.
The viable remainder.
Right. What is actually left to shape once you expose the hard structural constraints of maximum AI adoption? It's an audit of the design space.
It feels very sober, almost clinical.
That's the intended tone. It's what Humayun calls speculative realism.
Speculative realism.
Yes, because usually when you read about the future, you get pushed into a binary.
Right, it's either utopian or dystopian.
Exactly. And this framework rejects both. It rejects the false freedom of optimism.
Which is basically ignoring constraints, right?
Yeah, assuming you can just design whatever perfect world you want. But it also rejects the fake choice of resignation.
Just throwing your hands up and accepting collapse.
Exactly. We have to operate in the middle. We need discipline to find survivable paths through trade-offs, not easy narratives.
So, checking the structural integrity of the building, not just painting a pretty picture.
I like that analogy. And to do that, the framework establishes three brutal assumptions.
The analytical guardrails, let's unpack them for the listener. Number one is incentives over intentions.
Right. You cannot design for what you want people to do. You only design for what the system mathematically encourages them to do.
So if a system incentivizes speed over safety, it's going to choose speed every time, no matter what our intentions were.
Always. Which brings us to assumption 2, systemic resistance.
Yeah.
Systems don't change because they should.
They only change when the cost of remaining the same exceeds the cost of breaking.
Yes. They hold their shape until the pressure literally forces a rupture. And the third assumption is realism over ideology.
This was my favorite line. Design without structural grounding is just ideology with better graphics.
It's a great line. You can't just pitch a human-centric future without explaining how it survives the economic pressure of cheap intelligence.
So those are the guardrails. Now, the framework itself doesn't move chronologically. It's structured around 4 design axes or pressure points.
Right, the first being agency.
Meaning what's left of human decision-making when intelligence is abundant and essentially free.
Exactly. The second axis is institutions. How do you structure a functional economy when labor no longer anchors value?
Because the old models just collapse under that weight.
They do. Then there's capability. We have to figure out the non-negotiable cognitive and emotional traits required for actual survival.
Like the meaning of education when recall is free, but judgment is scarce. That's a huge tension to hold.
It is. And the final axis is coordination. How does society take action when consensus and trust are collapsing?
So the whole mission here is to expose false freedoms.
To narrow the design space, yes.
We're distinguishing what is desirable from what is structurally possible. It's a rigorous narrowing down.
Because in complex systems, the most dangerous error is believing you can design the future cleanly. We have to look at forced choices. We have to decouple contribution from survival and figure out how institutions handle cognitive inequality without defaulting to elitism.
It really is a stress test for the imagination. For you listening, it's about shifting from what do I want to what can actually survive the transition.
Which leads perfectly to the final reflective question for this session.
Go for it.
If we strip away the futures we simply wish for and look only at the ones the current system actually allows us to build, what is left on the table?
Man, what is left on the table? That is the question. Up next, Designing Futures Agency.
Examining what remains of the human decision when intelligence is no longer scarce.
Stay tuned, stay curious, stay systemic.